Welcome to our book review series. Yay! We are so excited to finally launch this. We have a lot of books that we're reading together and that we've already read that have made such a big impact in our lives, and we feel the need to share because if they changed our lives and helped us progress so radically, we feel like it's going to do the same for so many of you. So our first book is The Alchemist, which is a really important book for us, one of our favorites. I'm really excited to review this book with Sam and for you guys to get in on all of the treasures and all of the wisdom nuggets that are in
There you
there.
go.
Before we jump into it, I just want to remind you to give us a thumbs up if you like this video and to not forget to subscribe and hit that little bell so you don't miss another video. The book itself is actually a fictional story about a shepherd boy named Santiago, and he's going through life learning lessons in search of a treasure that he keeps dreaming about. So the story is fun, it's great and all, but what really makes this book special is the lessons that are in it. So today we're going to talk about the things that stood out to us the most, some of our favorite quotes, and how we've been able to change our mindsets because of some of these little wisdom nuggets. Throughout the book, there are several themes that come up a lot, and that's how we're going to kind of categorize the things that are important to us. The first theme is something that we love to talk about, which is gratitude. The first thing that comes up regarding gratitude in the book that I noticed, and I'm not sure if you noticed this little line too, Sam, but in it, he's got a jacket with him and he's thinking about all the things that he has to carry as he goes place to place. So then he thinks about his jacket and like the burden of having it, and he says, or the line itself says, when he thought to complain about the burden of its weight, he remembered that because he had the jacket, he had withstood the cold dawn. And that hit me like here. Like every single time I've read that, it hit me here. And it's such a simple line. It doesn't seem like there's so
Yeah.
much to it. But I feel like it's just a reminder that we complain so mindlessly sometimes that we don't even realize, like, these things are really important actually. And I also think that it's a really, really important line because he shifts his mindset, right? Like he goes from, I have to carry this to, it's a good thing I get to carry this. I feel like that's such a good practice for people to take on, and it's right there. It's like one of the first lines, which is so cool.
Yeah. So, on the same topic of gratitude, there's another quote, and it says, when each day is the same as the next, it's because people fail to recognize the good things that happen in their lives every day that the sun rises.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that quote because it really it kind of grounds me in my gratitude, and it's kind of a reminder that I should be thankful for all of the things that I have and all the things that I don't have because I don't know what would come along with those things. And it's so easy to get caught up in everything that's going on around us and within us that we forget to take that time, just a little bit of time, 2 minutes, 5 minutes in a day, to really sit and think about the things that you have and kind of just sit in that gratitude.
When I start my day with gratitude, something else that I notice it does for me is it kind of helps filter out all the BS and allows me to focus on what's really important in the day and in my life, like finding my purpose and really living in my purpose. I think that it's really important to focus on what your unique talent is and what the gift you have to offer this world is. And in this book, there are so many quotes that are so powerful that will leave you wanting to find or pursue your purpose. And one of my favorites is just it talks about just the general concept of having a purpose. And it says, whoever you are or whatever it is that you do, when you really want something, it's because that desire originated in the soul of the universe. It's your mission on earth. Your mission on earth. Like that's what you are literally here for. And I think that so many of us breeze through our days without even thinking about the deeper meaning behind our lives based on what we're really good at and based on who we're connected to and how we can, what our potential is to grow. So understanding your purpose is very important, and reading this book can help you get started on that and really inspire you to do it, I think.
When I first started reading this book, I was working in direct sales or network marketing. And that was when I first learned how to dream. That's when I started figuring out, okay, I could do this, or I could try that, or this is what I want. So let me try to figure out how I can get that. Because I think for the longest, I went through life just kind of coasting. Like I didn't really know what I wanted. I didn't really know what I wanted to achieve, or like it wasn't solid in my mind anyway. But reading this book actually, uh, I guess I could say it kind of solidified my purpose in my mind when I started learning how to dream and figure out the things that I want, if that makes sense.
Totally, I get you 100%, because I feel like most of us are, I feel like, sleeping. Like I would call that being in a dream state, like
Yeah,
not the kind of dream that we're talking about, like dreams that you want to go after, more just not being conscious to life and like
you
be.
ain't woke.
Yeah, exactly. And then at some point you wake up and you're like, oh shit, there's so much I can do. Like there's so much potential in me, and there are so many resources for me to tap into to make this happen for myself, whatever it is that you want to make happen. And one thing that I
Yeah,
feel, for me anyway, in my experience, has been that sometimes it's not easy to know what your purpose is. Like I have started and stopped and failed and succeeded at finding my purpose so many times over. And I think that when we talk about purpose and people, some people could say like, I know this is what my gift is, and I know this is what I'm meant for. It could be intimidating for
yeah,
people who are kind of just coasting or kind of just waking up, to feel like, oh, am I supposed to know what that is? And like, no. I feel like Santiago in the book doesn't even really know what his purpose is. Like he's just trying to find his treasure, right? And it ends up becoming
yeah,
some whole other thing for him, that
yeah.
completely changes his life. And I feel like that's what happens to most of us. The first step is just waking up, right? And like realizing that there's so much potential, that there is a purpose that you have this unique gift that you need to share with the world. And then learning to have faith and, give into gratitude and all that stuff to kind of unveil it little by little.
I think that actually might be what pulls us into the book the most, is that we're on this journey with this boy who's learning how to do all of these things, and it's not even really apparent to him that this is what's happening, but it is. And as the reader, you get to watch it unfold the way it does, and it kind of awakens that thing within you. So I think that's really why it's so impactful.
Yeah, this is a gateway book, I feel like. This is a gateway.
Yeah. Like a gateway drug.
Yeah, but it's a gateway book to personal development and growth, spiritual
Yes.
growth and understanding oneness and your purpose and all that stuff. So, but yeah, this
Yeah,
book helped me
totally.
with that. I when I started my personal development journey, and I say that very confidently now, but back then I wouldn't have told you that's what I was on. I was just kind of like, oh yeah, I went to a seminar. Like my first real push in developing myself and growing was Landmark
Yeah.
Forum, and I think I read The Alchemist like right after that, and I was like, man, like it was just alignment, right? Like everything just kind of starts coming together.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of the next quote, and I'm just going to throw this one in there, which is one of my favorites. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. That quote right
Yes.
there, that's like, once you figure it out and you wake up, it's like things just start falling into place. And
Yes.
so dope. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. The quote I actually chose is, people are afraid to pursue their most important dreams because they feel that they don't deserve them, or that they'll be unable to achieve them. And that kind of reminds me of of this quote by Marianne Williamson. And her quote is, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Like people are scared to go after their dreams because they
Mhm.
feel like they can't do it. So is that they need to get past
That
that
fear.
blockade. Yeah, in order to achieve
So
the goal, like
yeah, I think
reach their dreams.
I think the reason it's not resonating with me is because I feel like you're going to be scared no matter what. Like, it's not some, like, I don't feel like you necessarily push through it. You just kind of learn to live with it. That's how I feel, though. That's why.
Oh,
So to me, it's like, I mean,
that makes sense.
yeah, like you just
Yeah,
gotta acknowledge it for what it is. Like, I feel this way because I'm afraid of my own power and greatness, and I recognize it, I acknowledge it, and I'm gonna continue despite it. You know, you gotta just gotta keep
that's true.
walk with it, hold its hand, thank it for trying to protect you, and move on.
Like it's not something that you suppress or get rid of. You just work with it. Instinctually, we kind of just want to get rid of that thing that makes us uncomfortable or get rid of the problem, whatever it is, as opposed to dealing with it. So that okay, that makes sense.
So since we just talked about this, I'm gonna jump into these quotes that we have like saved up about patience and perseverance and about perspective. And then there's this one little quote that seems very insignificant, but it ties in directly with what we were just talking about. And it's a line that said he had to choose between something he was accustomed to and something that he wanted to have. And I think that that Marianne Williamson quote and what you were just talking about, and like, you know, kind of moving past it, and we're talking about sitting with that discomfort, like if you want to grow into your greatness, into that potential that you see for yourself, at some point you have to make a decision that you're going to move into something you're not used to. And that's not going to be comfortable and that's not going to be easy, but you still have to choose. And you can choose either way. You can choose to like, nah, that's cool. I'm just going to chill here because it's comfortable and live a life that in which you're not expanding much, or you can choose to step into your greatness despite the discomfort, despite the uncertainty, despite the fear.
Yeah, that's so true. There is no growth in comfort. You've got to learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that brings me to my next quote. The closer he got to the realization of his dream, the more difficult things became. In pursuit of his dream, he was being constantly subjected to tests of his persistence and courage. If he pushed forward impulsively, he would fail to see the signs and omens left by God along his path. So here, it was really important for him to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because if he didn't stay the course, then how was he going to find his treasure and how was he going to live out his dream? In this book, they speak a lot about omens and signs. And when you're following omens and signs, that's basically showing you, it's giving you confirmation that you're on the right path, and it's showing you that you are aligned. So if you're ever wondering like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? When you're trying to figure things out, this kind of teaches you to pay attention to the things that are showing up around you, because it might not be apparent at the time, but if you're constantly looking, then you'll see.
I think that's so important. And I love this quote and I love this theme of alignment because in my own personal experience, I have had so many things happen that have just been too perfect, like kind of like coincidences. And that's synchronicity. But synchronicities start to appear when you're in alignment and once you're paying attention to those signs. So I think it's really important that once you start to see things appear in your path that let you know you're on the right path, to just trust that it's going to flow the way it needs to flow and not to become impatient. I am very impatient. So I remind myself constantly of this one quote that I've read in this book that very clearly says, don't be impatient. That's how it starts. And then it continues, eat when it's time to eat and move along when it's time to move along. Like just chill the F out. And it's all going to unfold the way that it needs to unfold. Don't take action impulsively. Don't get so hype about what it is that you know you're going to eventually accomplish that you start tripping over your own feet.
Yeah, that teaches you to just go with the flow. Like you don't have to stress out about anything. That reminds me of this. The secret is here in the present. If you pay attention to the present, you can improve upon it. And if you improve upon the present, what comes later will also be better. So that's also like a good reminder, like be present, go with the flow, deal with what you have here in front of you right now. And when you do that, then that's kind of going to ensure that what will come next, like what's in the future, will also be pleasant. Another major theme that stuck out to us while we were reading this book together is perspective. And we actually had a post about this on our Instagram story the other day, and it was an image of two frames. And in one frame, it said something about something bad happening in my life. And you're just looking at it as something bad that happened in your life. And then there's the other frame that says something bad happened in my life, but something positive came from this bad thing that happened. And it kind of just shows the difference in perspective between the two. Like, you're not just focusing on the negative thing that happened. And that reminds me of a part in the book where the boy was robbed by a thief. He was conned, I guess. And here it says he realized that he had to choose between thinking of himself as the poor victim of a thief and as an adventurer in the conquest of his treasure. So here it kind of just shows that our reality is a direct reflection of our perception.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And I think it's a choice that we get to make every day, how we're going to choose to see ourselves, and
Yeah.
how we're going to choose to see any situation that happens to us. And not just every day, like every moment, right? Like any single time something comes up and you've got some kind of self-doubt, or you've got some kind of frustration, or whatever you're feeling, there's always a way to shift that and look at the frame differently.
I think that brings us to another part where it says, at a certain point in our lives, we lose control of what's happening to us, and our lives become controlled by fate. That's the world's greatest lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So in this part, this actually was the part where the king said this to him, that he met in the
Yeah,
marketplace. So here, I guess it kind of teaches us that, yes, everything is a choice. Yes, you can create your own future. You don't just have to take what's handed to you, right? Like when life hands you lemons.
make lemonade. Yeah, for sure. I love that quote. It's one of the most impactful quotes. That's probably one of the quotes has been stuck with me since the very first time I ever read this book. Like, that is the world's greatest lie. And I think about that with my own life a lot, because I've been on this growth path and journey for a long time now, but I did not come from an upbringing where people were making themselves better or stepping out of their comfort zones. On the contrary, like, I was always told, like, we're poor, like our family's poor, that's just, it is what it is, or our family's this, that's just, it is what it is, or you're that and I'm this, and that's just, it is what it is. And I'm very grateful that I learned early on in adulthood that I am not the product of the circumstances that I was born into, and that I have a choice to figure myself out and, do the inner work, open up the wounds and let them heal, and become a different and better person and version of myself than what I was supposed to be, based on what my family was like and what they thought I would be like and what my comfort zone was for so long, right? And I think that everybody has that opportunity to build themselves up into something different than what they could have ever imagined, because you always have that control in your hands.
So deep.
Yo, this book is amazing. It is so deep. It is so simple to read and it's so short. And it's just this story on the surface that you can follow along. You probably read to like a kid, and the kid would probably not even understand all the lessons, but they probably still enjoy the story. You might still enjoy the story. I do. But I think that it's a really good book to read, and I think that it's a really good first book for us to have reviewed, and I'm so excited to get other people hype and become fans of The Alchemist.
We just want to say thank you so much for tagging along on our first book review. And if you've read this book and you want to share some of the lessons that maybe we didn't touch on, or some of the themes we didn't touch on, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again real soon, millennials.
Bye.